Second episode of the IFA Newsroom podcast. A lot to discuss. If you had missed it, the Lightning got kicked out of the IFA, and I don't blame the IFA entirely. The Lightning will, people will, but there's stuff to dive into. And along with that, a lot of player signings. I had a Caballeros episode that I was setting up, but I got a lot busy with a lot of stuff, so it never ended up getting out of there. But we're gonna get into that. We're gonna address the elephant in the room, which is the Lightning, which the IFA doesn't seem to want to announce or talk about. But I got things that I know that the IFA won't share, and they won't share for good reason, just for the Lightning's sake. And without further ado, we're gonna get hop right into it. So 3 days ago, on the 6th of January, the International Football Alliance put out a breaking article, or they broke the news per Instagram, or I'm sure Twitter. I haven't really been on Twitter. But they broke the news that the Baltimore Lightning will not be a part of the International Football Alliance in 2025. Now, they said this was a unanimous vote by the league members that they don't want this brand to come out with the team or team, yeah, the Lightning's team brand to come out in the International Football Alliance. And they also don't want this to be seen as the International Football Alliance. So what did they do? They kick Baltimore out. They have unanimous vote through owners. They have unanimous. It was really unanimous. The league wanted the Lightning out, and there's good reason. You're not gonna go and say they want to do this for money's sake, for their own sake. They're selfish. No, the Lightning aren't putting out a brand. They're not putting a high quality brand out there. Their social media team does not put out professional football content. Their coaching staff outside of Eric Marty doesn't look good, and they're not doing anything to promote or address anything. Now they have TV deals, they got branding deals. Yes, they even got a JUCO membership or partnership, but they're not holding themselves to a standard. They're expecting the IFA to take care of them for 2025, 2026, 2027 for the future. So the IFA removes them. They take them out of the league completely, and they go on with it. And this is why the schedule had been taken down, and there were looking like a lot of good matchups. There were a lot of good matchups. They had a very good roster set, but they're also signing players who aren't going to play with them for 2025. They are treating this like it's not a professional football league. Now, that's of course what I've heard. Eric Marty had adjusted the players a week before that the team was not gonna be in the league. Eric Marty released that, and well, he told the players, he addressed the players that, and they were aware, but they were still promoting it like they're gonna play in 2025, even when they knew. And when they put out a statement of their own saying that this is the same thing that happened to Vegas, this is the same thing that happened to Portland, this is the same thing that happened to, the other Mexican team. No, it's not. A, the PDX didn't even have ownership at all. There was no ownership group that could take them. B, Vegas, very poorly owned, poorly managed. They got kicked out at the AF1. The AF1 kicked them out. They couldn't even play in the AF1 in 2025. And you're telling me they're going to play in the IFA because of selfish reasons from the commissioner? No. And for the other Mexican team, I have no idea what that is. But I've also heard things that the Rebellion owner owes money to somebody, but I don't believe that. And it's crazy. It's really, really crazy how they're going to jump the gun and say this league is destined to fail when Baltimore isn't holding themselves to a standard, when they're expecting the league to take care of them for 2025. Now, we're still going to jump into what Dana said, but this isn't what people are thinking. They're honestly thinking like the IFA is a selfish group that's gonna kick them out, and that they're only doing this for really money. And that's not true, so I thought I'd address that myself because I've been doing digging. And I asked people around who are with the Lightning, and they say all they can say is, I'm inside with the team. I have no idea what's actually going on. Now, they don't know what's going on themselves, and they're saying that like this is the IFA's fault. So that one's crazy, and we're about to hop into what Dana said and get that addressed as well. So Will Hanna himself put out a statement regarding the Baltimore Lightning, and he said today we no longer announce that we are part of the IFA, that we left, and they really kicked us out. And upon reading this, I think everything's fine, everything's normal. He promised a media deal with CBS Sports Broadcasting, and that Jason Adams carrying on the light through August through December. And we already confirmed that there was no deal with the AF1, and the AF1 has their own thing going on. I don't know why you're gonna blame Mr. Adams for that. There's a lot they wouldn't really know about that. And reading upon this, you think it's going fine until he mentions the question of our funds, and he brings up Portland, Vegas, Mexico City, Guadalajara, Costa Rica, and he says other began the questions, no answers from the league. Henceforth, took us 3 months to get the schedule. Now, if you're unfamiliar of how a schedule works, the UFL just put out their schedule a week ago, and it took them probably months to get that figured out. There's so much scheduling and planning and legal signings they have to do to get a schedule. Reading this, I don't really believe a lot that they're saying, because Vegas got kicked out of the IFA because of ownership. They had very bad ownership problems, and I'm reading this and I'm saying PDX had they had no ownership. Guadalajara, I don't even know what's going on there. Costa Rica, you can imagine there's no ownership over there. And they said without hesitation, we wanted others to maintain a good name and play separately, collectively in 2025, while other teams will be making similar and separate statements. We found it prudent to make a statement immediately. Now, the one thing they did right was announce this immediately after they get kicked out. But you can't say that the IFA is in the wrong. You can't say that Baltimore's in the right. They did nothing wrong when they're asking the league to take care of them. It's a lot to dive in, but I thought I addressed the elephant in the room itself, because people don't know what's going on. And also to say with that, there was speculation that they were moving on from Eric Marty at head coach, and that they have signed defensive back Matt Elam, who has also signed with Fisher Fry as a as a defensive coordinator, I believe. So Matt Elam wasn't even gonna play at all. Bryson Allen, I'm sure he was planning to play or use this as an emergency to play in 2025, because I don't know if he was gonna play in the UFL or maybe even the IFL or AF1. But there was a lot of speculation. They had also slowed down on player signings, and as I had said a little earlier, Eric Marty addressed this to the team a week before it happened. So they knew, and it's just not a good look for the league or Baltimore in general. And we hope they can recover. We hope that we could hopefully see Baltimore in the IFA, but that's probably not going to be the case. I think they might. I could feel like they could join the AF1 playing in a Baltimore arena. That would be nice to see, but I don't think that's going to happen. But they still have a lot of signings, and Baltimore still has a great market out there. Just, I don't think they're going to play in outdoor football in 2025 unless they join maybe a semi-pro or a minor league. But the IFA has also stated that this isn't a minor league. This isn't semi-pro. This is professional 11-on-11 outdoor football. And that's what we're going to see come May 31st. In training camp as well, Baltimore even had a hotel planned out for training camp. and it just sucks. It really does suck for both teams, for both parts. And we hope they see them recover, but for now, we could just move on from this and hope the best for both the International Football Alliance and the Baltimore Lightning and everyone affected in both the league and the team. And to say with that, we have our first quarterback competition in the AF1 with Corpus Christi, as today they announced Josh Holland's quarterback will be signing with Corpus Christi and will be competing with Javante Johnson for the quarterback one spot. In other news, Massachusetts, they bring in the guy, Kenji Bahar. If you're unfamiliar with him, he played in the USFL in 2023, also in 2022, but not really primarily as a starter. And he would in the USFL had 218 completions with 354 passing yards, a good 2200 passing yards, and a 10 to 11 interception to touchdown ratio. Not really great, but this is a proven guy. Played with Baltimore, played with Toronto, played with the Baltimore Ravens again, the Houston Gamblers slash Roughnecks, and now with Massachusetts. Very, very excited to see him get to work. We know that he's had a good USFL career, and I'm ready to see him in the IFL with Massachusetts. I'm pretty sure there will be a competition with him and whoever else they brought in. And also with that, the Arizona Bandits signed Akil Greer, who was recently with the Wichita Regulators before they folded. And now he's heading over to the Arizona Bandits, along with like practically the whole roster is going to Arizona. And I'm excited to see that one because very talented receiver, NFL talent, NFL level. And we got the Ohio Valley Ironmen assigning a few players. They got Aiden Ferguson, offensive lineman, played at Minnesota State. Drake Wells, slot wide receiver, played in the FCF in 2022, looks very good. They got Kasid Raymond, athlete slash wide receiver, and you know the guy's good when he's labeled as an athlete. He rather could bring a lot to the table or is just genuinely very, very talented. And finally, they got Desmond Thomas, offensive lineman. They signed their last guy, Aiden Ferguson, who played tight end in college, and they're moving him to the O line. So this will be really fun to see. And another one, Prince Shinola, he's headed to Washington to go play for the Wolfpack, which I may hopefully see in week 1, depending on how things go. And that'll be really exciting, really, really fun to see. But I'm genuinely very excited for this Arizona team. Arizona, Washington, they're looking like they might be really good teams, really, really good contenders. Washington's looking like they have an actual real team compared to last year, which last year they put up points and they beat up bad teams, but they didn't really get rolling till they had Max Novak. And if you know anyone who's Max Novak signed with Tulsa this last season, or this off season, he signed with the Tulsa Oilers. He's gonna look like he's gonna be great. Tulsa's looking like they're gonna be really good. So I'm really excited to see where that brings. And with that, we also got to talk about Zach Potter, former Birmingham Stallions general manager, takes a general manager job at Sacramento State, and he's been great. 3-time champion and nothing under but a great, great general manager. Notable names that he himself recruited: Alex Magoo, Victor Bolden, CJ Marable, Brandon Aubrey, Christian McFarland, Kobe Wadman, Deion Kane, Chase Sternberger, Khalil Davis, DeAndre Tillman, Willie Henry, Matt Corral, Adrian Martinez, Ricky Pearson, Kevin Austin, Amari Rogers, and Taco Charlton. That's just a small brief summary. And he's now taking the job at Sacramento State, so the Birmingham Stallions they'll be trying to find a general manager soon, and somebody with NFL experience is most likely coming there, which means better talent to the UFO, but doesn't mean the talent was already great. I think that who Potter brought in was perfect for Birmingham, and it doesn't matter who he brings in, they're going to put out probably the best talent out of the UFO. And speaking about the UFO, we have a lot of important dates. February 24th to 27th, coaches report to training camp. February 27th, players report to training camp. February 28th to March 2nd is onboarding. March 3rd, training camp begins. March 8th, scrimmages slash joint practices. March 15th, scrimmages slash joint practice. March 21st, teams cut down from 66 to 55. And March 28th is the kickoff. There have also been a lot of player signings, a lot of releases. The Battlehawks re-signed all-pro linebacker all-pro linebacker Mike Rose. The Battlehawks also brought in kicker Rodrigo Blankenship, very, very famous, very, very well known. Former Seahawks center Christian Sokoli signs with the Houston Roughnecks. Pep Hamilton, former DC Defenders head coach in the XFL in 2020, is now interviewing for the head coaching vacancy in New England. Yes, has not really been coaching, but that's still very major. And then the Memphis Showboats signed Josiah Bronson, who had a brief stint with the Patriots in the offseason, and Nash Jensen, guard, formerly Carolina, and Miles McHaney the fourth, a defensive end. Houston Roughnecks also signed former Buccaneer center Avery Jones, so we have ourselves a little, in some ways you could say, battle at the center spot. The Showboats signed running back Dwayne McBride, pretty big one, but he's going to be competing with DeAndre Torrey for that running back spot, and there's nothing about them bringing Darius Victor back yet. And to cap off, the Roughnecks signed running back Morgan Ellison, as well as former DC defender Emory Jones is signed a futures deal with the Falcons, leaving Mike Delario as the only quarterback on that roster. So DC might need a quarterback. I don't know who we're gonna see yet, but still a lot of great things to see. So as I had mentioned earlier, I had a Caballeros episode set up to where I talk about the San Antonio Caballeros. That was the main thing I was gonna discuss them, but there was a lot of this Lightning news, and I was like, I got to address this. But I had an idea that I posted on Instagram, and I thought I'd explain it more in depth on this podcast. But we have like a really, really big chance of the San Antonio Caballeros partnering with the San Antonio Gunslingers and also partnering with the San Antonio Brahmas. Now, of course, they need a year to see what will happen, but the plan for the IFA is to be that middle from the UFL to the NFL, and that's the plan. That's their main goal. So, let's say this. The San Antonio Brahmas last year had to cut running back Bryson Allen. Now, Allen didn't have anywhere else to play and was a roaming free agent. And it's pretty insane, but he didn't have anywhere else to go, and he had just signed with the Baltimore Lightning just a couple months ago, before the Lightning, of course, got removed from the IFA. But what they could have done is, instead of cutting him, they could have still owned his rights and sent him to the Caballeros. And the Caballeros have a partnership to where they have the Brahmas players, and the Brahmas players, if they ever don't make the 53 or the 50, they can just immediately get sent to San Antonio, and they could play for the Caballeros. And then let's say the Caballeros, somebody doesn't make the roster there, or somebody with the Gunslingers is outperforming, like let's say Sam Castronova, who's the quarterback last year, and the Caballero quarterback room isn't providing well, they could send Sam Castronova up to play for the Caballeros. Sam Castronova could be that starting quarterback for the Caballeros, and still be part of that Gunslingers. Because Castronova, who, if you're unfamiliar, Sam Castronova is probably the best quarterback in the AF1 right now, and he could play 11 on 11 outdoor football. Of course, it doesn't really translate at all, or there's not much of like a struggle or a difference in play or quality when it comes to 11 on 11 outdoor, translating to the 7 on 7 indoor when it comes to playing quarterback. And Sam Castronova could have been somebody who could have easily played. And the Gunslingers host tryouts. They're very, very well ran. And I don't see a better indoor football or outdoor football partnership than San Antonio Gunslingers and the San Antonio Caballeros. And they send players back and forth to each other. They sign two-way contracts. And it would work so great because nobody's trying to poach at this talent. And they are like specifically just for the Caballeros and just for the Gunslingers. And this is where the Brahmas come in very well. When the Brahmas, they got to cut somebody, but they don't want a UFL team to snatch them, they send them there immediately, and their rights are owned by the Brahmas. And this would be great, but of course we still don't know what to see. But I would love to see this. This would be one way to unite spring football in general and to create a bigger out football landscape. And to get with that, let's talk a little bit about the Cavaliers as well, or what to really expect. Head coached or coached by Hal Mumme. And Hal Mumme, if anyone is not aware, is a 142 to 152 college record with one tie. But in the spring league, he is 6-1 plus a championship, winning the 2021 spring league championship behind Ryan Willis and quarterback Stan Bedwell, which Stan Bedwell is now the offensive coordinator with the Caballeros. And this looks pretty decent. This looks like a very decent team. Anybody I speak to who is inside of the IFA or anybody I hear talk in the IFA, whenever they talk about Hal Mumme, they all say they're so honored to be in a league with him and his air raid offense. And they say that this is probably the biggest win, one of the biggest wins, sorry, not the biggest, one of the biggest wins in or for this league is him being a coach in this league and him joining a powerhouse. Now, he's also spent time in spring league with the Arlington Renegades back in 2020 as an offensive coordinator and an assistant with the team. A lot of people have so much respect for him, and this roster looks like it's looking good. It's looking very, very good. And this roster has three quarterbacks that I've seen. I'm not sure who else they have, but quarterback Chris Barrett, who played in the fan-controlled football in 2022, is one quarterback who I'm assuming is on this camp roster. Nate Hayden, another quarterback, very, very talented, and Jeremy Hunt, a quarterback who has a lot of indoor history and played a lot of indoor football. But here's where it draws the line: is I could see Chris Barrett or I could see Nate Hayden as the starting quarterback week one, and I could see Jeremy Hunt being the guy holding the clipboard, helping everybody out, playing a Holton Allers role. If you don't know, Holton Allers is the third quarterback for the Arlington Renegades, who also spent time with the Seattle Seahawks back in 2023. And I could see Jeremy Hunt playing that exact same role. And I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think Jeremy Hunt is very, very talented. I've seen the film, but when you got Chris Barrett and Nate Hayden over there, uh, it looks a lot more in favor of those two guys, considering that that's the type of offense they played. Chris Barrett, who is mainly play time with the Glacier Boys in the fan controlled football, has looked very good. And Nate Hayden, playing football overseas, is also, or mainly international, has an international landscape. It's also looked very, very great. So those are two guys who come week one, maybe they could split or one sits behind the other, but that could be a very, very dynamic duo. And to get into skill position players or players who are going to making plays so far, notable guys, we got Trey Minter, sorry. It's spelled T-R-A, Minter, so I'm assuming it's Tra Minter, but Trey Minter, running back, spent time with the Spring League back in 2021 and a little bit of time with the Bandits of the USFL while BJ Emmons was struggling with some injuries. And they got running back Trey King, very talented, played his collegiate ball at Texas Tech. LaMarcus Dr. C. Carradine, very talented receivers, played in the fan controlled football in 2021 and 2022 and a little AFL. And he looks really, really good. And like, he can be a key part for this Caballeros team. Joseph Putu, cornerback, 6 tackles with the Panthers and FCS defensive MVP. JJ Dallas, defensive back, played with the Spring League with the linemen back in 2021. If you haven't seen the connection yet, um, I feel like you're not looking hard enough, because the coach of the Caballeros was also the coach of the linemen back in the Spring League, and the coach is Hal Mame, none other than, of course, we already touched on that. And then wide receiver, or sorry, tight end, Jared Scott, played with the Breakers, 1 catch for 15 yards. Uh, very, very big, very, very dynamic. Played with Josh Allen in Wyoming, and spent some time with the Carolina Panthers in the NFL. Hunter Swadoba, tight end, fullback, and defensive end. Yes, the Swiss Army knife, played with the Billings Outlaws. Baller. He's crazy, hella talented, and I'm really, really looking to see what he can do. Reggie Cole, defensive back, lineman in the Spring League 2021. All I can say. Carl Reynolds, baller. Wide receiver, Isaac Zico, Mass Pirates, All Pro. The Spring League lineman, wide receiver back in 2021. I see the trend, and I really like it. I really like what I see. There seems to be a lot of chemistry, with the players, and that's gonna mesh really, really quickly, and that's what builds like a championship atmosphere. Jalen Moody, linebacker, Alabama, and Derek Jones, defensive back, spent time with the Jets, spent time with the CFL, and spent time with the New Orleans Breakers in the USFL in 2022, and a little bit of IFL action. But those are the main guys who I really feel like noting. I know there are a little bit more, but those are important. I feel like anybody who's dipped their feet in spring football know who these guys are, and I like it. I really like what I see. There's a big connection, a really, really big connection, and I like what I see there. So the biggest part is the Spring League back in 2021, where Hal Mame was the head coach. The backup quarterback was Stan Bedwell. Bedwell got a little bit of action, but if you're not aware, Bedwell is the offensive coordinator. Had a Hall of Fame international football career, and he's the offensive coordinator. Very good at what he does. And this team will look like, it'll look good. It looks dynamic. There's a lot of chemistry, and as I can count, there's got to be at least like 6 players who played in the Spring League, not including the offensive coordinator. Which would be cool if they also bring in Ryan Willis, the key recipe for that team. But that whole team was practically, was just perfect. It was very, very good. And this is an air raid offense. I'm excited. I'm really, really excited. And we'll have to see. But it's looking very good. It's looking very, 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 very well tuned and very sharp. And with the skill position out of the way, we are less than 2 weeks away, around 8 days away from the combine, from the inaugural International Football Alliance combine. March 21st, March 22nd, as we all know, is the draft in Huntsville, Alabama. I'm excited, personally, very, very excited to see this draft go down. But the combine is probably the biggest deal, is how well the combine is ran and how well the combine goes. This will be one of the deciding factors for the International Football Alliance, because there's a lot of talent that's going to be there, a lot of players that are going to be there, and a lot of people who are going to just not expect to be there. And it's also going to be with this draft is they're going to be former guys who played in the NFL at this draft. Alabama's bringing guys who played in the NFL. I'm pretty sure that Dallas will bring players who played in the NFL. And one final thing is San Antonio has also brought players who played in the NFL onto their camp roster. We might see that out maybe out of Ohio. Ohio, of course, their team has looked very, very fresh. Terrell West, Van Control Football, baller, and that's what we can expect is the best version they can put out for the fans and for the players to come week one. And because of Baltimore getting kicked out, the International Football Alliance should be announcing a new schedule sometimes in the next few weeks to a month. As I stated, the USFL only got their schedule out like a week ago, and they're having their season kickoff on the 28th of March. So, with the 31st of March kicking off, we got plenty of time to schedule, but a lot of people a lot of people inside of the organizations have a good deal or a good feel of who they're already going to play. But there's also a lot of legal issues they have to do and a lot of scheduling conflicts as they're, still an upcoming football league with a lot to prove. So expect the schedule to come out sometime in the next few weeks to the next 2 months. But they should have a general landscape of what it's going to look like. And not much to say except the 31st is what we were expecting to kick off of in May. Alabama versus Tampa Bay in Huntsville, Alabama. And I'm very excited. I don't think I'll be able to attend, but I am still very looking forward to this game. I will be tuning in. I'll also be tuning into the combine. I will be tuning into the draft. And I will be providing the best coverage that I can for this league. And I am hoping that this league catches on. I know that I'm putting a lot of people on this, but I'm very hoping that this league will kick off in this year, 2026, 2027, 2028, and that this could be a stable landscape to get players back into the USFL, back to the CFL, and back to the NFL. But nothing's a proven, and a lot of people think it's going to be like a joke league. And as we just saw, Prince Shinola, who was signed with the Tampa Bay Tornadoes for the 2025 season, or at least had the training camp, he just signed with the Washington Wolfpack for 2025. So he's one of like a few players to make that jump. He will be playing with Joseph Hess, who is also expected to be in training camp with Alabama. But when you have a lot of quarterbacks to compete with, I'm pretty sure he did not want to, so he just decided to jump ship and go play with the Washington Wolfpack in 2025. And I'm excited. I'm someone who's a few hours away from Everett, Washington, and I might be watching Prince Shinola and Joseph Hess week one, potentially against the Arizona Bandits, and that'll be fun seeing Akil Greer, Ahmad Butler, and a lot of very, very talented, and also a lot of Wichita regulators in Arizona. And I'll be very, 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 very excited to see that one. And we just got to give it time and let it see how it plays out. We'll do it for the second episode of the International Football Alliance. I had just a strict Caballeros episode that I was working on, but this happened and a lot of stuff happened, like moving houses and stuff like that. So I just did not have time to really work on it, and I had a little time to work on this Baltimore Lightning episode. So I was like, let's get this in. Let's toss a little Caballeros inside of it. But it's sad what happened with Baltimore. I'm someone who was very, very looking forward to seeing the Baltimore team play, and I'm not going to get that chance. But it's all okay. Hopefully Baltimore can find their way. Hopefully the International Football Alliance can find their way. But that'll do it. Stream us on YouTube. There's no video talk today, but that's fine. Stream us on Spotify. Let's get that up. Let's run up the numbers. If you listen, that's fine. If you want to go on there and talk, harsh comments and make jokes, that's fine. I'm all for it. Just leave a comment. Say whatever you want to say. I don't care. Say whatever you want to say. Follow us on Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube. @SpringToFootball on YouTube. @SpringToFootball on Instagram. Twitter may be coming soon, but I'm barely on Twitter. But I might have to get on Twitter just so that way I can put my foot more in the door. As your host, Rafael Samarkov, International Football Alliance, IFA Newsroom, I sign out. Congrats to everyone who's signed, everybody who's going to be at the combine, everyone who got invited to the draft, with a letter or an email. And expect another episode, maybe doing just an interview instead of an episode. But that'll be a lot. It's always exciting doing an interview. Does not matter who you're interviewing. Maybe I'll put up a film episode instead. But for now, take care, everybody. Much love from the IFA Newsroom and Spring to Football. Take care.